Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 219 of Kouryer podcast. Our today's guest is Miss Cristina Lavina Ferez. She's a lead concept artist at Respawn, based in Los Angeles, California. And of course, before we jump into the questions, as always, in the for contact section of the captions, you can find the ID to our Instagram account, the link to our art station, and just other stuff, and other links and all that good stuff. Now, with that being said, how are we doing today?
Pretty good. Yeah, it's very sunny outside, like LA, typical LA climate.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Has the weather gotten hot now?
It's a bit hotter. It's been raining very weirdly for Los Angeles, but now it's sunny, so I'm happy about it.
All right, awesome. And all right, so here's the thing. There's usually like one question that I always start off the podcast with, which is kind of like at this point the signature question of the podcast, which is give us a little introduction on how we got into the world of visual arts and design. Basically, tell us your origin story of what led you to decide to become an artist.
Oof, it's very complicated. So I'm originally from Spain, from a town near Barcelona, and at the time, it was no such a thing as about like an artistic career as we know it now. So I've always been drawing since I've been a little kid. I've never stopped drawing. It's always been my passion. I got into manga and anime when I was super young, so I was just like drawing manga and anime constantly. Like, in fact, I wanted to be a mangaka. When I was like 14 or 15, I wanted to go to Japan and like be a mangaka and follow that dream. But it was way later when I discovered that this could actually be a career. I studied in a very small school in Barcelona called Joso, which like everybody that is from Barcelona know what that school is. But I was just going there on Saturdays and just making friends. And later on, like when I was 17, 18, I was approached by a professor I had one time when I studied a very short masterclass of 3D. And he said, "Oh, there's an animation studio that are looking for a character designer. Would you be interested to talking to them?" And I was like, I was so young at that time, and I was like, "Of course, that's what I wanna do. I wanna draw, especially characters." And so that's how I started. I started in a very small studio in Barcelona. And later on, I moved to London, and that's when I discovered the video game career, which at that time, it was not something I would think about. But yeah, my journey has been a bit like self-taught, non-stop drawing constantly, and yeah, pretty much that.
All right. And were you originally studying art and design, or you were pursuing another career path? Let's say when you were in high school, and usually everyone at the end of their high school, they have to think about the major they're going to study in college, or should they go to college and all that stuff. How was it for you? Did you initially went to study in like another subject, or you were just straight up went to art?
So the way it works in Spain is like when you finish your base like high school, you have to choose like a bachelor, some sort of like 2 years type of bachelor, and then in Spain it's like different ones, and I chose the artistic one because there were no maths as well, and I was so bad at maths that I was like, I need to go to the art one. At that time as well, I didn't know how to work out of art, but I knew I wanted to do something about it. I had like dreams of like just making comic books, that was at the time. It's like, that's the only thing I knew. It's like, if comics is the route to go and live as an artist, that's what I'm going to do. But I guess, yes, I always try to pursue an artistic career, because I didn't see myself doing anything else. It had to be something artistic. But yeah, I had this wild idea of going to Japan and being a mangaka, which obviously didn't happen. But yeah.
Yeah, the reality of becoming a mangaka is like It's like one of those things, like a lot of people have that thought, but they don't realize that there's already a huge amount of artists in Japan locally, domestically, that want to get into that market as well. It's extremely competitive. The pays are not fair. And like, unless you're some sort of super unique, like, god tier artist, you're not going to stand a chance in that competition. And
Yeah,
which
yeah,
for that you have to sacrifice a lot of things in life. Yeah, and the pay is
yeah.
not great, I heard.
Yeah, definitely. Like at that time, I was so young, so it was the only thing I knew. Like, I would imagine how that was because obviously the only thing you were receiving is those comic book, right? And we have, I think at that time as well, like you have such a romanticized idea of what it is to be a mangaka. Like you have no clue, right? When you find out later that as well, like it's so underpaid that, and also it's not just the prime artist, like the author of the manga that work alone. Like they had like assistants that they're not even named in the mangas, right? So it's just very romanticized. But when I was young, I just didn't know. And I think that a lot of young people write to me because they're like, I don't know how to get there. How do I do it? And I feel very related because when I was young, it's like I grabbed onto manga because that's the thing I had close. But I share that sentiment of like, where do I go? How do I start? But everybody find their own path. That's what I always tell them.
Yeah, definitely. And all right, so in the introduction I mentioned that you're a lead concept artist, so we already know that. I mean, on the YouTube version, whoever is watching the YouTube, you can obviously see like character concept arts above us, but so it's kind of obvious. But what I want to ask you is what is your main branch of design that you're focusing on, and tell us about your experience from the start of it until now. Like basically, tell us basically about the story of what's led you to the path of becoming like a character concept artist.
So I think I've always been interested about people. I always loved people, stories of people, and this is why I've always been drawn to characters. And I remember before when I was young, I couldn't find interested in anything else that it wasn't characters. Like to me, it's like I've always found a way of like trying to tell stories of people, designing people. It's like it's something that when people in general think about how to design a character, a lot of people think outfits. But I think about the personality. Who is that person that is wearing those outfits that lives in that world, right? So I've always been drawn to that. I've always been drawn to that aspect of concept, even without me knowing that that's what the career path I wanted to take. That's what I've always been drawn. Like I had to force myself to learn other things because you have to know how to draw environments, you have to learn how to draw props, you have to learn all of this. But my real interest has always been in characters. Yeah. Have I forgot something?
No.
Okay.
It's all good.
Yes.
And here's the thing now, speaking of characters, who are your favorite characters in Apex? Like actually, what do you main like as a player if you play Apex? Now that's an interesting
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm not a huge Apex player.
Oh really?
It's quite funny. Yeah, no, it's quite funny. It's because Apex is a very stressful game for me. The
Oh
game is
yeah.
quite. I've actually met several artists that they don't actually play much the games they work on because they might love the lore of the game, but they don't jab with that specific type of game. I love narrative games, but I don't necessarily love to work in a lot of narrative games, right? So with Apex, the lore is so amazing. Like we have an incredible narrative team that give us amazing stories, and a group of designers that are absolutely incredible as well. In terms of favorite character, there's so many. There's so many great characters. I don't know. I used to really, really love Watson for many reasons. Before even I started working on Apex, because I just love the sensibility of that character, and I thought it was a brilliant masterclass in character design more than any other character. She's so iconic, so iconic. A lot of them Apex characters are, but Watson in particular, I think she's like wow. Like I always remember her. And characters that I felt very fond of, I guess Rampart because it was my first character when I designed her. I know that she's not the most favorite played character, but I know like a lot of people like her just because the way she is. And yeah, it's Apex is a very very good project to work on because it holds to a lot of values that I share as well. So designing characters for this project is beautiful, you know. That's why I don't necessarily think you have to play the game a lot to be able to work on a game, as long as you are good at what you do and you care about the aspect that you are designing. Yeah.
All right. And yeah, I mean, I can totally get like, I mean, I don't know if it was some other game like, Valorant or like, because yeah, Apex is like, battle royals are stressful, as you said, like, really stressful. Like mostly the characters lore wise that I really like in my, like, it's really hard for me to pick, but my two favorites are Mirage and Pathfinder. Like playing wise, I love Pathfinder again and Octane because I love characters with mobility. Like mostly I'm not really good at the game as well. I just, I love to just, go around the environments and grapple if I can go all the way and, maybe get some, kills like Vulture or something because I'm not really good one-to-one player or something, There's so many like, like just if you just queue in a game and you just go, there's always that player who has like 15,000 matches with, I don't know, like Rafe or something that's going to clean up everyone, so what's the point?
I know. The thing is, like, I know that like Apex is great for build community, and like my brother is a huge Apex player, which is awesome, like my brother is always like, which one? Can you tell me which one is the next character? And it's like, no, actually, I can't tell you, even though you're my brother, But he loves those games, the Apex, even Battlefield, all these games because they build community around it as well, and he makes tons of friends. For me, gaming is a solo. For me, the way I like to play games is solo, and I love exploring the world. Like when I play games, I played it in story mode, which is the easiest mode that you could put on a game, just because what I like is to explore and to get deep into the stories and to get to know the characters, I don't want to stress myself out. So that's why I can't really play games like Apex because it is not for me. I get so stressed.
Yeah, I guess you're the type of person who likes games like Skyrim, Fallout, maybe I don't know, stuff like that.
Yeah, my favorite game. Yeah, my favorite game is Witcher 3. So imagine the type of games I like.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
And,
so yeah.
Yeah, and all right, now speaking of characters, now let me actually ask you an interesting question. How does your design process usually go anytime you want to start working on a new project? Like basically, what does the structure of your pipeline look like?
Mm-hmm. So it varies depending from project to project, in Apex in particular, we work heavily with narrative and design. Like we basically receive a brief that comes from narrative and design, and we sit down with them to talk about the possibilities of this character, what things the character could have to have more personality, and they let us do a lot of the heavy work as well with the visuals of the characters. They never impose us unless it's like something very specific that the character needs. For instance, Rampart, it was very specific that she had to be a very small girl, right? So that's a characteristic of her, like they have a specific ethnicity, right? So we try to honor that. But it varies from project to project, really. My main goal when I design characters is that people would be able to relate to them. I don't like designing characters just for the sake of being cool. I like designing people that other people can relate to. That's why I always try to add aspects in their personality everywhere, and I don't think just about the design, the physical design of the character. I also think about how the character is going to move, how the character is going to act, because to me it's a compound of like so many disciplines. It's not just the visual, it's also how the character is towards the world, right? um, and one of the aspects I always like to keep in mind when designing characters is the fact that I used to be a cosplayer. For instance, when I was like 14, 15, I used to go to manga convention and I used to dress up my favorite character. So I do remember that I didn't have a lot of money. So I tried to make cosplays and they were easy to make and recognizable with few elements. So to me, that's super important when I design a character. Like even just by looking at the face of a character, like you can put a ponytail on the side, like you put a dot there, like you wear red and turquoise and you're rampant. You don't need anything else, So to me, that's super important, when design a character, that you make them relatable, you make them very recognizable and cosplayable, because that's how people is going to be like, oh, I can just be the character for one day, and that's an amazing feeling.
All right. And now here's something that I actually wanted to ask you as well. And this is actually, of course, we talked about it before we even started the podcast. Let's talk about tattoos actually, because I had guests before who had tattoos, but I think you take the record of having the most tattoos, I think. Yeah. And so yeah, what are some of the tips you can give, people if they want to consider getting a tattoo, like, some good guidelines you could share with us?
Yes. Obviously, tattoos are very personal, and a lot of people, they come with ideas, and they want to have a specific designs, But what I recommend, find an artist that you like. Go and find a tattoo artist that you like, and bring them your idea. Majority of the tattoos I had, it's because I found an artist that I love what they do, and I just go and it's like I try to create a mood board for them with their own art, So I look for their tattoos that they've made, and I put them together. It's like, I love these pieces that you've done here. I love these pieces that you've done there. A little bit of like art direction with with that, but I think this is the way you're going to get the best result, because when a tattoo artist, and that goes for every artist, not just with a tattoo artist, but when you let an artist do with just few guidelines for direction, that's when they're going to make the absolute best, because that happened for me too, So I treat them the same way, And so my biggest advice is that don't even design the tattoo, Don't go and then start like designing the tattoo. Go and find a tattoo artist, that you like. And obviously, tattoos are expensive, some tattoo artists are going to charge more than others, but always remember that what an artist charge is what they are worth as well. It's like, if you want a good tattoo with a great quality, you're going to have to pay for it, like anything. So yeah, find an artist that you like and give them your brief.
All right, let's go through another round of questions about tattoos. Like, what about neck tattoos? I don't think those are really safe to get, right? Because I heard, like, once you get a neck tattoo, it's going to be extremely hard to get employed anywhere.
Oh, neck tattoo?
Yeah.
So it depends. Like, the thing is, like, there are tattoo artists that they are specifically good at certain parts of the body. Neck tattoos, I would say as well. A lot of people recommend, like, when you start getting tattoos, they're like, oh, don't get it on a place that you're going to see it every day, But at the same time, once you get those tattoos, you like seeing them. Like, I haven't gotten a tattoo. Like, I have a tattoo on my back. My whole back is tattooed. And, like, majority of the time, it's like, I wish I could see it. Because I love the art that the artist did so much that, like, I wish I could see it, right? So neck tattoos, what I would say as well, really find an artist that you like, an artist that you trust. Personally, neck is one of the areas I wouldn't start with the neck, because typically what people do is you start with the arms, you start building up the momentum, because it's like having something the first time in here is a lot, and they typically tell you as well not to tattoo your hands, the first time, because it's, there are delicate places that are hard to tattoo as well. You have to find artists that are good at tattooing in those areas, so I recommend starting for easier places, but you can see them, you can see your arms, you can see your legs even, so yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, you're totally right. But the thing with neck tattoos, I've heard like it's one of the surefire ways of not to. Basically, it makes it super hard for you to get hired anywhere, because as soon as like the
Yeah.
HR sees that neck tattoo, they're not going to care about anything else. They're just like, oh, red flag.
Oh, do you mean like getting hired somewhere if you have a tattoo in
Yeah,
your neck?
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. To be honest, I haven't found any problem. Like my husband is tattooed all up to here, and he never encountered any problem because he was tattooed like in the industry. Obviously, depending on the country you are as well. I would assume that depending of the culture and stuff. But like, for instance, in Spain, I didn't have any problem. In the UK, I didn't have any problem. In Canada, either. In the US, either. What is important about about the job is what you do, not what you look like. I don't have any pictures of myself in Instagram, barely. Like I don't want people to know how I look. I don't care. I just want you to see my art. So for getting hired, I haven't met any artist that had problems getting hired because they had tattoos in the neck or.
That's interesting. Maybe that's because of the entertainment industry is a bit different.
I,
Yeah,
I
that's
would say
interesting.
so. No, I would
Yeah.
say video game industry, entertainment industry in general, like VFX, animation. They are very progressive industries. Like in fact, it's super normal to see people higher ups with tattoos as well, and it's a very common thing. Like it is about art, so tattoos are art, right? So I would say this specific industry is very forward. If you want to work in a corporate environment, probably getting tattoos is going to be a struggle. But for the video game industry, VFX, animation, I haven't heard anyone that has had problems because of that. Like even like language barriers. When I moved to London, my English wasn't very good. But I got hired because what I do, not because my level of English. I was gonna get better at English. So it doesn't matter. I would say in this industry it doesn't matter. And if somebody ever have a problem, tell me, because it's like we need to flag those people.
I agree. That's actually a great idea. Yeah. Yeah, let's actually fight the culture back, not let them,
Yeah,
bully us for
definitely.
not getting tattoos right.
It's
Ye-
ridiculous. At this point, it's ridiculous.
yeah. And yeah, another thing I actually wanted to mention about tattoos, I recently had this idea for a tattoo. Like, I don't know, have you played Far Cry 3?
No, I haven't. No.
But you've seen the game, right?
Yes, 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 I have.
The thing with the progression system in the game is like your main character, which his name is Jason Brody, like gets like, of course, a little bit of a spoiler warning. Of course, I'm just going to say like anything that's like not so spoilery, but still about the game. So just bear in
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
Basically, the guy gets stranded in an island and gets saved by a bunch of tribals, and he has to fight the pirates who are taking over the island. Kind of like that. That's the most general way I could summarize the plot. And the way the progression in the game works, like on kind of his forearm here, the character gets like every member of that tribe, they have like a traditional forearm and wrist tattoos, and it's called tatao. And the way the game progresses, any skill you unlock, it adds a specific tattoo on your forearm. So for me, I was like, if I could, make like a design for every single ambition or thing I have that I want to do in this life, and then after I do it, I tattoo it here like that. That would be kind of awesome tattoo idea.
Yeah. The thing is, like, whatever it is that is meaningful to you is a good reason, you know? It's like, the thing is, this is what I say to everyone. Your first tattoo is gonna have so much meaning. Like, it's gonna be like, you know, this is my journey in life, whatever, you know. Your fifth tattoo is just gonna be because you like it. You know what I'm saying? So whatever it means to you, you know, it's like if you find meaning of like getting those memories onto your skin, that's good, you know. A lot of my tattoos are memories, you know, of places that I've been, you know, like things that has happened, you know, people. I have tattoos with my friends as well. So whatever whatever excuse is good if you want to get a tattoo, just only find the right artist for it. That's what I would say.
Yeah, yeah,
But that's a cool idea. That's a very cool idea.
yeah. And all right. Now speaking of game industry and entertainment and all of that, who are your favorite artists and designers that have inspired you the most?
So when I was very young, as I said, my favorite artists were Japanese. Like, and these three artists that I always remember being the main ones, which is like Yoshiyuki Sadamoto, Akira Toriyama, and Tatsuyuki Tanaka, which I met Tanaka recently in an exhibition that he came to do in LA. And I was so honored just to, like, I'm not a person that would go to someone as a fangirl at all, but that artist meant so much when I was a kid that I was like, I came to him and I was like, Tanaka Sensei, I want to thank you, you know, and it was so awesome. When I started realizing about other disciplines, the artist that I always remember is Kekai Kotaki. Kekai Kotaki was the artist that I saw. I remember this friend of mine giving me the art book of Guild Wars. And I saw Kekai's concept and I was like, I want to do that. Like, it was the first time that I was so sure of like, so no, I don't want to do manga. I want to do this. How do I do this? And that person was Kekai. It's like, and I remember in London I met him like years ago, and I was just saying like, Kekai, you meant so much to me, and that's amazing. Like, and other artists like Richard Lyons, Laurel D. Austin as well. She meant a lot in London. Callum Alexander Watts as well is incredible. Hugo Richards. I don't know. And my husband Theo Stelianides as well. He's an incredible artist and he's so inspiring. But yeah, many artists. It's so difficult. But I would say Tanaka and Kekai were the two artists that I always like have. I should get them tattooed.
Maybe, yeah, sure, why not? Like,
Yeah.
have some of their famous artworks, a piece of it
Yeah.
on your body. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
And all right. But actually, just one thing before we move away from the tattoo thing. Like, one of the reasons I haven't gotten a tattoo yet is it's kind of crazy. It's because I don't know. It's just maybe if when my life gets a bit stable and better, I might like my attitude subconsciously changes. But I like to be as undetectable as possible. In case I don't know, like I have to get in trouble with the law or something, I can run away as much as I can. No, I mean you're probably thinking, oh my god, what is Rampton talking about? But no, I'm not a criminal. I'm not like yeah, I'm kind of crazy about this stuff, but like it's better to be as undetectable as possible, in my opinion. And yeah, tattoos are basically like your one big red circle that says "shoot me here." Like can get easily pretty detectable. But if you don't have any tattoos, you can easily maybe shave a beard, put a fake beard on, or shave your head or something, and boom, you're a new person. Do some makeup. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, definitely tattoos are very identifiable, like if you don't want to be recognized or like have a photo of like one of your tattoos and somebody will be like, oh, this that person, then for sure, for me it's a way of self-expression, and I don't care as much as being detected or not, but that's a personal preference, and if you don't feel comfortable with that, then that's okay too, you don't have to You don't have to get tattoos, it always seems like this thing, like everybody's getting, I need to get another one, but like you don't have to, like you have to really see it as a way of expressing yourself. And if you want to have something because it means to you, good. But if you don't, you don't. That's completely fine. There's many ways that you can get those memories in. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And all right, so since you're someone that has a lot of experience in the industry, I want to ask you this: any advice and tips for a good portfolio and resume for artists? Like, what are some of your main golden rules when it comes to those type of subjects?
So I get a lot of like students emailing me and like messaging. I try to reply to all of them. So if I haven't replied to anyone, I'm sorry, I'm busy. But like I try to reply to all of them, and it's always this question of like, where do I start? What do I do? Like it's very difficult. So I empathize with all of you guys. My biggest advice whenever you create your portfolio is that I don't think a portfolio should have a lot of student exercises. I know that it's the stuff that a lot of people go to schools and they get a lot of exercise in school. But when you send those stuff away, like we all know that that's school work. So what I would say is that after you finish school, you have to spend time working on your art, and working and building up more skills, right? And choose a discipline. Like if you are more drawn toward characters, make like 4 or 5 characters, and show us the process. Show us what is your process. Put all the sketches that you developed until you get to the last image. One thing that I always look in portfolios is I want to know which one is being your mental process from starting that sketch and that idea to the final result. I want to know what's your process, because I do care about technique. Technique is something that is very important. We all have to have it, but what I do care is your ideas. I want to see what is it that you are adding as a person into those characters, because technique is something you're going to get better at it because you're going to keep drawing, you're going to keep adding stuff. But building up your ideas and what you understand about what characters are is very unique to you. So I think portfolios should be very personal, and what I always said is like, start with some pieces, that you can build up for that portfolio specifically. Choose a discipline. If you have different disciplines, if you also do illustration, separate it very well. You put character design and you put your designs. You do a section of illustration. You put illustration that you have done. But don't make a huge portfolio of like 50 pages of a lot of the same. It's better to have 10 or 15 pieces, or even 5 or 6, it doesn't matter, that are very good, that having 30 that are mediocre. So spend time working on your portfolio. And in terms of what do you do when you go after school? So I would say go on LinkedIn is the first thing that you have to do. Like if you don't have a LinkedIn, go and get a LinkedIn. Approach HRs, approach our directors, approach companies, start writing to them. A lot of companies offer internships, Respawn offer internships. We get a lot of like students doing internships that come from Art Center, for instance, from LA. But if they don't have any post jobs for junior internships, email them anyway. You're gonna get 0 to none replies sometimes, but you have to keep going. At some point, somebody's gonna reply to you. And it's good if you start for smaller places. Like when I was young, I remember that I emailed Blizzard with my very first portfolio. I emailed Blizzard, and I was like, I'm just gonna throw. Obviously, looking at the realistic way, Blizzard is not gonna hire me when I'm like 20 years old, right? So. It's better if you start small. Start for indie studios, start from mobile studios, What you want to start getting is experience, even though we have, for instance, interns that goes to Respawn, the reality is a lot of us haven't started on Respawn, I always see those guys and it's like, guys, you are so lucky as well. Talented, but lucky that Respawn is the very first company you work for, But it doesn't matter where you are in Spain. I went to an animation studio, in London. I started an outsourcing studio. So start small and start building your experience from there. Yeah.
All right, that's pretty solid advice in my opinion.
Cool.
And what are you working on right now that you can tell us about? What kind of project is it? I mean, of course, like there's always going to be NDAs involved. Yes, I know.
Yeah.
But if that's not the case, what type of work are you working on right now? What type of stuff you're working on?
I'm currently working on Apex. I was working on another project before, but it got canceled. So I went back to work on Apex, which is awesome. It's a project I love. I went back to work on Apex with the awesome Apex team of like 21 concept artists. It's crazy. Like the Apex is an absolute beast of a project. There's so much content that needs to be done. I'm lead concept artist, focusing the character side, and just designing new things that I can't talk about for Apex.
Yeah, and here's the thing that impresses me the most about Apex is the technical artists of Apex, and the reason I say that is because for anyone who doesn't know or are not very aware of, in games you have to optimize everything as much as possible so the game could be run on any kind of hardware pretty easily, and and not just any hardware, also with any internet connection. Like that's another thing. So you always have to optimize the hell out of everything, in the game with the LODs, the textures, it's just everything. Mm-hmm. And when you have like a open world, huge map game like Apex, and there's 60 different players at the same time, it's gonna get complex to optimize that sort of stuff. Like for example, with a game like Counter-Strike or Valorant, I assume it's much more simpler than something like Apex. But yeah, like it's something that I've been recently getting into, like because I'm also training to become a 3D environment artist. I'm not in the industry yet. I'm just building up my portfolio, going through courses, and I'm basically in the tutorial phase right now. But when it comes to optimization, now that I have to know it's not just fun and art, you have to be technical as well for some reason, I guess. Now it just impresses me. I admire the work, when I play games like something like Apex, I really admire how they optimize it. Because my internet is not the best, my hardware is not the best, but still runs smoothly. Even though like there's 60 people on a huge map, so much assets, so much textures, like oh my god, like how so much unique assets actually. Like it's crazy how they optimize it.
Yeah. Totally. So that's it. I'm super happy you mentioned that because it's really difficult. Like for a long time, I think now it's changing, but for a long time, working on VFX was always the top, right? But I think video games have been changing that rule as well. And I'm very happy that now we are giving a lot of credit to people that work on games because it's super difficult, especially for the optimization. Like, I always feel as well that when you have limitations is when you actually produce the best art in whatever form, because those limitations make your creativity go further, and that's what happened in games. A lot of the stuff, like one of the biggest things I always said to people is that no matter your discipline, but for instance in concept art particularly as well, you have to be a problem solver, because you encounter this thing of like, no, we can't have this shoulder part extruded. No, we cannot have this many details. No. So you have to find solutions for all of these problems, and they are constant. They are constant. And it's like, when the next person comes, which is the 3D artist, when the character artist has to come and model those characters, they encounter the same problem. They cannot go over a certain polygon count. They need to be very careful of the amount of assets they put in. It's so hard. It's super hard, One thing that we always go through when, for instance, designing skins for Apex, right? You would think that it's easy. No, it's just like an outfit. No, but there are parts of the character that you cannot touch, that the only thing you have to do is make a different design of the same shape. And it's so difficult after 4 years of this project that I'm making different designs all the time that are new and fresh, that they look different from other skins, is super hard. That's why, honestly, Apex is a project that is super challenging. That's why we have so many good artists, and the bar of hiring people is so high as well, because you need to be fresh. You need to be like, be able to push yourself, because those limitations are very challenging, And the environment artists, don't get me started, it's like these people are wizards. It's crazy what they do, with lighting and everything to make such a beautiful game with what they have, Insane people.
Yeah, I mean, there's also this meme in the architecture community when, like, an architect's dream is an engineer's nightmare. Like, architects make this crazy, like, designs and everything, but then the engineer has to optimize everything to make it actually, like, functional,
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of it's similar to the same situation we're talking about. This is like, I mean, our character artists, concept artists are kind of, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but get to have all the fun of like creating and, making everything. Then the 3D modelers have to like, optimize the hell out of it, and not just set people who are behind the optimization of the engine as well. Like, there's so much technical stuff that goes behind the games. It's not just like art and stuff, but I mean, for good reason. Also, the coders and the people who are on the technical side, they usually get paid more. I mean, because not many people are good with those stuff. And it's also hard. It's also not very simple and a straightforward thing to do. So, by the way, I know this is like an art-related podcast, but for anyone who's out there and wants like a second hobby or second thing to learn coding. Honestly, if you have the time and you got it, maybe later on you can add it to your resume and maybe get positions that you've never thought you would. So yeah.
Totally. Yeah, one thing to add to that, like, because I actually. Like, I work in many companies where sometimes the art department always felt a bit isolated, whereas like artists were doing their thing and like they pass it on and then the next person has a problem. I've never seen our discipline that way. I personally actually like to call us more production artists, because we are on a production, And I like to be, and most of the people in my team, to don't say all of them, they're very mindful of production, We go back and forth. A lot of our character meetings, there is a rigger there. There is the lead character artist, the lead character artist there, Whoever needs to be in those meetings to make sure that we are designing something that is they are going to be capable of doing. We cannot just throw whatever it is that we have and make our ArtStation portfolio shine, because we are on a production, and we all have to feel that we're part of this team. I'm not the person that likes to say, oh, we do art and there you go, you do it, because that's not the way I work either. I like to work very closely with the 3D person that is going to be doing the character, and I also personally like to give them a bit of a space of freedom, because a lot of people are very much like putting every single detail in a piece, and the 3D artists, they barely have to do anything creative, it's just like a photocopy, but I like to give a little bit of space of like, hey, there you go, you have this, but you can interpret it your way as well. If you want to change the features of the face because you think they're going to work better, go for it. It's like, it's to me, it's a very collaborative process. That's why a character is not one person's work only. We design, we make the base of what the character should feel, but there's so many people behind it, that makes that character feel alive, and I want them to have ownership of that as well. I want them to take it and be like, okay, this is my character too. If you don't give that space, that the person is just going to feel that it's just there, moving polygons, and that's it. So yeah, I always like to change the mindset. That it's like, we are on a production. We are production artists more than we're just like our station artists.
For anyone who's listening who want to be a character concept artist, please, the last 2 minutes I think were some of the most important piece of information that you must have heard in this episode, because oh my god, you have no idea how helpful that's gonna be if you kind of adopt that mindset, because if you constantly communicate with the 3D team in the production, like, things are gonna get so much faster and smoother. And by the way, I'm just wondering, out of curiosity, let's say like you're working on a project in a company, and of course in that project there are of course a set amount of limited amount of work that must be done, like let's say in 2 weeks or a month, and in that timeline of the project, and let's say the whole production team goes on crunch, like not because of there's no time, but they decide to do all the things much more efficient and faster. All right, this is a hypothetical, by the way.
Yeah.
And if they finish all their tasks for that month or week, and they had nothing else to do, like, I mean, this is kind of like a hypothetical question, would the company still keep giving them more work to do, or they get to be free and explore and improve their own art?
So it depends on the company, really, and it depends on the project. Apex is infinite. So you always, no matter what, you're always gonna have something to do after you finish. But some companies, they would give you the opportunity to grow yourself, and like even some companies, they even offer you, like to take classes if you want to, to improve yourself, depending on the company as well, and depending on the values of the company. That's why every company is different. I worked in all spectrums, I worked in companies that didn't even have a microwave to heat up your food, and I work in companies that, that they give you a lot, they give you, it's like, they also very much, a lot of companies are very much in the mindset of like, you are a valuable artist, and like, they want to keep you, and they want to do things for you to feel accomplished, That's why some places, what they would do is that they constant checkups, for instance, Respawn is like a constant checkup because there's the burnout can happen very fast because the amount of work we have to deliver, is crazy. I tell you right now, it's very crazy. But there's always checkups of like, are you okay? How are you doing? You need some time to breathe, At the same time, production needs to happen, and it's like things need to be delivered. But if anybody finish early, a lot of places, they would give you, a bit of space, especially between project and project, when a project finishes, sometimes if there's like a second or third part, sometimes they would give you space for blue sky, which is like super fun to do, blue sky, which for whoever doesn't know, blue sky is just like, is a creation moment where it's like you have all these possibilities, just explore, But yeah, it really depends from project to project, in companies as well, and the values of the company. It's not easy. It's not easy to find a company that it aligns with everything you feel, and it takes. The honest truth is, for majority of people, it takes years to get to a company like Respawn, for instance. For me, it's been taking me so long, But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. For some people, they finish their school and they are already there, which is amazing for them, So it really depends on each person's path.
Yeah, that's awesome. Actually, there's something I also wanted to ask you if Respawn also offers that as well. there's, of course, we were always bombarded by bad news and the negative things that might happen. There's AI, there's that, like, there's no future in that, and like there's so many things we're always bombarded by that, but we rarely get to be bombarded by good news and the positive side of progress of things that are happening.
Yeah.
And basically we live in a world of negative news. And there's one thing that the title that I saw recently on Twitter, which made me really hopeful actually and happy for the progress we've been making in a lot of sense, and it comes to the entertainment industry. Like, I don't know if you saw the news, but CD Projekt Red, as of late of March 2020, it started to offer like menstrual leaves, for their employees, which was like, wow, that's actually a really good idea, And does Respawn offer kind of something like that as well, or you think in the future they do? Because I think every company should adopt that. That's like, I think, a serious thing that should be considered.
I 100% agree. Respawn doesn't specifically have that, but it's very flexible. It's very, very flexible. What the company offers a lot, like especially, for instance, when COVID happened, EA, for everything that EA has, offer plenty of resources for families as well, for mental health resources, especially. Like you could go to a therapist, and like all that was covered by the company, which it's something that, coming from Spain, that like mental health awareness is something that it's starting to happen a little bit, but it's still like miles away from the stuff that I've seen in Canada and in the US, where it's like COVID hit and pretty much the first thing is like, guys, are you okay? You need support, like let's have therapists there to help people cope with this. It's something that I really value, because it's just the stuff, like what you said, like, nobody considers this thing that half of the population have every month, so I hope that one day we would make stuff like that official, because by making it official, you make it normal, because it looks like it's always like this thing where it's like, the same as like, you don't say I go to the therapist as a natural thing, and it should be normalized. Like, hey, today's therapy time, and in an hour, you always say doctor, as was like, oh, doctor, to say doctor is acceptable, but to say therapist is not that much, right? So, I hope that we get to the point that we start normalizing things, and seeing that CD Projekt Red has done stuff like that is amazing. It's like, that's why I always feel that video game industry, especially video game industry, because VFX are a bit like another beast on the side, but video game industry, they tend to be quite a lot more forward and quite a lot more progressive than other industries. That's the experience that I've encountered. So, yeah, but Respawn is very flexible, really, like with a lot of stuff. So, yeah, they do try to take care of you quite a lot, So, yeah.
Not the problem is
like that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
What the thing is, this industry is also very cutthroat and competitive. So because of that, any CEO that gets on top, they just want to do everything by the statistics and the books to get the most amount of profit while they're on the top of the, like, the leadership hierarchy. So, they can have a good track record for themselves personally. But that's why, a lot of the companies, and not just in our game and industry and entertainment and all that, but in general, in capitalistic, we live in a capitalistic world, unfortunately, and that's the case most of the time, 90% of the time. But if you think about it, they're looking for short-term profit, and that technically makes sense. But if you have someone on the top who knows that if you provide all this value to your workers, with all these benefits, it's going to be a much more long-term profit and, much more productive, team. You're gonna end up with a much more productive company in the end. But they're not going to be there in the long term, when they're not going to be the boss anymore, when it's going to be productive. So most people, they just quickly check their track records and their books, to see, oh, how can we, just optimize everything to get the most amount of, work done and most amount of profit done? Where can we ship the game? Oh, we don't care, it's buggy, we're going to fix it the next patch. No, everyone, crunch time, let's go. And crunch is like a very common thing in the game industry, but I hope it changes a lot. I hope the next generation of people who come by, I hope they try to actually leave a good mark, because in the end, if you have like a team of dedicated, passionate people who are well taken care of, you're going to see amazing results. That's my opinion.
100%. And I think a lot of companies are getting to the conclusion that people are not just dispensable assets that you can just move around and then you remove one and you put another one. Like, I think companies, for instance, like Respawn, they're starting to see people as the creators of the product, and like the value of personal creativity that adds on to that, and how much it does to keep the team healthy mentally as well, and not adding all this crunch time, because people is going to go, people is going to get angry, they're not going to ever come back, the project is going to start going down. There's like a cascade of things that happen when you don't take care of people, when you don't when you don't see them as people, that's the biggest thing. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen in all the companies, like this is the best company I've been to. Previously, I was in a very good company as well called BlackBerry Interactive in Canada. And they were amazing as well. They tried their best to take care of you. But I've been in places where they don't give a flying fuck, sorry about it, But that's what happened. You ended up leaving, you ended up angry and be like, I don't care about this, and those companies, they ended up kind of going down because they don't really take care of people, and I'm happy to see that at least in the scale of some companies, they are starting to realize, it's like, you have people there. It's not just assets, Yeah, but unfortunately, this happen more just on the higher level companies, like companies like Respawn or like other big companies, that as well they are in a magnifying glass as well. Like if look at what happened with Blizzard, right? As well, of like suddenly all these files and these complaints, and everybody was like, what is Blizzard doing? Because they are the ones leading the industry. So if they don't set up an example of how things could be, nobody else would, So, yeah.
I don't know how much hot water we're going to get into if we start criticizing those big companies. So yeah, let's talk about that, after the call if you want.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing, but I'm saying.
I know. No, you're absolutely right with what you're saying. But actually, the reason I say that, because I'm not going to mention the name of the artist, but I actually had a guest like a couple of months ago, which they were, they're working in Blizzard, and let's just say we talked for an hour and a half, like candidly and freely about everything like this we're doing right now. And then they later on realized, actually Blizzard is super focused on podcasts and media appearances of their members and artists. So I completely deleted that episode, and we did another new episode of 30 minutes of formal dry like conversation, and we were both chuckling and laughing because we knew we were kind of faking it.
Bless. Yeah. No, totally. Like, what I meant to say by that is like these companies are in a magnifying glass. So whenever some bad thing happen inside the company, it's put everywhere, right? So they are the ones setting up the example, and that's a reality. We can't deny that. It's not saying anything bad about companies. I'm probably sure they've learned from those things, which, like people, you as a person can make a mistake, but as long as you learn about what has happened and how to evolve and grow from that, that's good, So we should see companies in the light of like there's an opportunity they have as well every time they made a mistake to grow and get out of those old patterns, because they exist in those companies, but they also exist in society, So that's why, for me, I see all that stuff as opportunities that we have of saying like, okay, that was okay back in the day, but it's not okay anymore. So we have to make amends, and we have to move out of certain old patterns, So, yeah.
Yeah. And all right, let me actually ask you now a really interesting question, which is what area beside the area you're working on right now, which is of course in the fields of art and design and creativity and all that good stuff, but aside from that, is there any other thing you want to learn in the future, or is there not just learning stuff, but just any other ambitions or goals you have in life that you want to pursue that is non-arts related? Important point,
Yeah.
non-arts related.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm very interested in people, as I said, in general. I love psychology. I love one of my best friends. She's a therapist that works with autistic kids and families. And I've learned so much from her about self-development, about trauma, about anything related to the mind, things that happen to people. Why does people go from A to B? I think those are the questions that I find so interesting. So if I would ever had to pursue anything else that it wasn't related to art, it would be either related to therapy, psychology, or trauma, or dogs. I would 100% dedicate my life to dogs if I could. So those are but I'm very interested in self-development and trauma and many patterns that people have of behavior, so yeah.
Yeah, dogs are amazing. Honestly, I mean, I live alone because of that. I can't get a pet, but if I was living with a roommate or something, I would 100% adopt a dog. Like,
yes, same.
yeah,
Yes, my husband and I, we've been moving around, and we just we are looking forward to the time that is like, now that we are here, we're gonna stay here and we're gonna have a dog. So yeah, definitely, and always adopt, never buy. That's another good thing to put in
or
there.
if you want to buy, maybe someone, let's say someone since they were a kid wanted to have a dachshund or a corgi or a golden retriever. I think that's fine, but at least yeah, adopt a dog as well too. Adopt an animal, it's always better,
Yes, it's always better.
But I understand if people want to still buy, because I'm gonna be honest, I love golden retrievers. Like I have a soft spot for them. Like I don't know.
Yeah. Depending on where you are, you will be able to find the breed that you like in a shelter. That's why I'm always like a big advocacy through. When I was in Spain, I was a volunteer on a shelter, and that's why I can't see any other option. As much as you said, I love a golden retriever. I'm sure if you have patience, you are gonna be able to find a golden retriever on a shelter. Or whatever it is. The other breeds are a bit more difficult, but I don't know. I don't like seeing dogs as an object that you can just,
I know.
But everyone to their own, it's like we all have different values, and as long as you live with those values, that's what matters,
All right, that's awesome. And well, we've reached the final question and section of the podcast, which is called Time Capsule. And of course, by the name of it, you can kind of guess, what it's going to be like. But let me explain it like this. Imagine this is actually how I generally, explain this segment to guests this with this kind of analogy. Imagine you're in the escape pod of a shuttle in space, and your escape pod is about to be ejected into the abyss of space, and you're going to get lost forever, and you don't know what's going to happen. And there's a countdown above, a digital counter like that says, there you have 2-3 minutes, and in that amount of time you can't do anything. People are looking at you from behind the window, and you're looking at them. But you have a voice recorder, like something to talk to them, and they're going to record that voice. And in that moment, in your last moments, if you could say anything from yourself, a human being, to another human being, with the life experience that you have gained, what would you have to say?
It's like I'm talking to everyone.
Yes.
Okay, so I think I would say, don't be afraid to make mistakes, because from those mistakes you're going to learn so much, and don't be afraid to be yourself as well. I know it's scary sometimes to be yourself and to be open to judgment, but that's the only way. That's the only way that you're going to be free. So yeah, and be kind to each other, be kind. I think I would say that. I don't know.
All right, that's awesome. Actually, no, the reason I was kind of hesitating because I was also fast typing, your answers, because
Okay.
I don't know if you see the Instagram page of, like the Kouryer podcast, but the third post I have of every guest is their answer to this question.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like a fun survey I've been doing like since episode 75, because since episode 70 or 75, the last question I used to ask to conclude the whole thing, it would just be a recap of their journey. And at some point I'm like, this is like, there's enough knowledge out there about how to become, for example, I don't know, a character artist or 3D modeler, but I'd love to, learn about the real stuff that comes from someone's heart, about their life experience, because there's more to life than art, obviously. And a lot of times I get the really extremely valuable nuggets of gold out of, the answers to this question that I've been asking for about roughly 150 episodes, like, no, not 150, 148 episodes by now. I've asked this question about roughly about that much. And and the thing is, I'm aiming to go to at this episode 1000, so it's going to be interesting to see how.
Amazing.
Yeah, and like one of my plans is also to make a compilation of all these quotes and put it in a PDF and just sell it to get some sort of support for the podcast as well. Like I have so many plans for this podcast, but in the end, like, I'm doing this. It's something I'm passionate about. Like I haven't get paid even a single cent out of this podcast. And I'll still do it even if I don't. But it's just one of those things that I want to do, like in life. Like I don't care if I become a millionaire. I don't care if I don't know what's gonna happen to me physically or mentally. But as long as I push through and get to episode 1000, I can confidently say I did something with my life. And I don't care if the next day a bus runs me over, because I did something with my life. I'm gonna die happy,
That's beautiful. It's really beautiful that you say that. And you know what? Like, I think when we get older and we get like on our careers in like adult life, like it always seems that you have to do everything because you're gonna get money out of it, And like sometimes we just need a bit of passion, a passion project that you have on the side that you can go back to, that is for you and for your own accomplishment, And I think that it's beautiful that you are doing this, and you feel that that's your way of being accomplished in some way, and I really admire that, and it's something that you should write as well for other people, in this time capsule, because I think it's a very good lesson, of like, don't do everything because of money. But, there's plenty of passion projects that are going to be there. They're going to fulfill you. And that money cannot pay that. You know what I'm saying? So amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I'm kind of fortunate enough to. It might sound weird, but I'm kind of fortunate enough to being always kind of alone most of my life. And that loneliness led me to a lot of, self-reflection and getting to know myself better, And yeah, I mean, a lot of things are temporary in this life. Like, all right, let's say I make, which is of course amazing. Don't get me wrong. If I make like, 200K a year, something like that, that's amazing. But let's say, all right, then I make a family and I get a job, then I get retired, and I guess I die. So the only thing I improved was the quality of my physical life, and I didn't do anything that fulfills me, But like the podcast is one of those things,
Yeah.
Like even right now, like, I guess 219, like actually after you 2 hours later, I have another podcast with someone else in Canada. Like, let's say, 220 episodes is not a low amount, I guess. but it's not like a really fancy or sexy number, but 1000 is really like awesome,
Yeah.
Like if I could get there, and it's going to take a long couple of years, I guess, because I've started this like, the March 14th of 2020. And yeah, it's now April 15, 2023. So about 3 years and a month, I guess.
No, it's amazing. It's impressive. It really is impressive.
Yeah, thanks so much. But I really, but throughout all this, but I'm still grateful though. Yeah, sure, I didn't make a lot of money, but I'm going to be honest, like a lot of good things happen out of this podcast. A lot of people I met, a lot of friends I made. And yeah, like as just an anecdote, a side note for this now, we're kind of, technically at the end of the podcast and we just did the time capsule. I suggest everyone, if like, don't look at the price of things you want in life, just pick something you like and go crazy with it. And the point isn't to the goal you get, is the journey you're going to take and the things you're going to learn. Like that sounds so cliche and that sounds like the shonen anime protagonist type of speech, I know. But it's true. Like pick something that you're going to have a fun journey about. That's actually a good thing to say. You
Yes,
know?
yes, I agree. I agree with you. I think a lot of people could relate. Like when I was like very young, I honestly didn't know if I was gonna make any money out of this. In fact, like it took me a long time to actually make a good living, out of this. But at any point I was like, I'm gonna give up or this is not for me. At the end of the day, it's like you have to find which one is your passion, and go for it. And you're gonna find, by finding your passion, you're gonna find that there are many other things that you were passionate about that you didn't know. So it's more the journey. It's more this whole journey of like, what are you passionate about, and go for it. And I know what you say, that it's exactly like that. It sounds like a like a Disney like a Disney speech, right? But I think we've lived in a world that we focus so much into whatever it is that you do, it has to give you money. I've met so many people that they drop their careers because they follow what their parents were telling them to do. uh, mm, technical careers, architectural careers, like many other things of people that they were like, I went there because that's what they told me to do. And then that's why you see a lot of people that are extremely sad that they're not happy because they have to spend so much time doing something they don't like. And they're stuck because that's the stuff that gives them money. So it's like, it's this thing, it's this vicious cycle, that doesn't really help them and doesn't help anyone around them, I think. But yeah, as you said, no matter what it is that you want to do it 100%. Do it 2,000%, and you will find things along the way. And don't be scared of failure, because I've had many failures through my career, as many other people, and this is the way you learn, you fall, you stand up, you fall, you stand up again, and that's the way of life though, so
All
yeah.
right. Well, it's been a real pleasure. I enjoyed the conversation a lot, and I'm
Same.
sure anyone who tuned in and listened, they enjoyed it as well. Thank you so much, by the way, for your time and coming by for this episode 219.
Awesome.
And where can people contact you if they had any questions? Is there an Instagram account, Kate?
Yeah, definitely. I try to reply anyone in general that writes to me on Instagram. So yeah, if anybody has any question, feel free to reach. And if it's like a long question, I will give you my email so I can reply to you better, as I gave to many students as well.
Yeah,
So yeah, thank you for inviting me.
my
It's
pleasure.
been
My
an
pleasure.
awesome conversation for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you to anyone who tuned in to listen to this episode. As always, if there's any comments or suggestions or critiques or anything down below, you can send them. You can write them down in the comment section down below, or you can just send them to me on the Instagram page of the Kouryer podcast. And I always check everything out. So yeah, do write to me if there's anything that you have in mind. And with that being said, take care, everyone. Stay safe until next episode, which is going to be recorded in 2 hours. Bye.
Adios.